The last thing I heard before the ocean closed over my head was Ethan Cole shouting from the beach. If you hadn't interfered, Vanessa would still be alive. Salt water burned down my throat. My hands clawed at nothing. Dozens of people I had spent 4 years studying beside stood on the sand and watched me drown. Not one of them stepped into the water. A week earlier, in that first life, I had saved almost every one of them. Vanessa Lane had organized our graduation trip with the help of a generative AI assistant called Echo Guide. She asked it for a hidden adventure spot nobody else knew about, and it sent our entire graduating group toward Black Pine Ridge, a high-elevation wilderness area known among experienced hikers for sudden temperature drops, unstable side trails, venomous snakes, and patchy cell service. I had checked the route myself. I found warnings from the regional wilderness office, rescue reports, trail closures, and posts from veteran hikers telling beginners not to attempt the northern ridge without proper gear. I sent everything to our group chat. Nobody listened. So I contacted our former homeroom advisor and several parents. The trip was canceled. Everyone came home safe. Everyone except Vanessa. Humiliated and furious, she went alone. 3 days later, search teams found her body in a drainage ravine. She had wandered off trail, lost signal, gotten soaked in a storm, and died of hypothermia overnight. That should have been the end of it. Instead, my classmates decided I was the reason she died. If I had not made a big deal out of the danger, they said, all of us would have gone with her. If we had gone together, someone would have helped her. If I had kept my mouth shut, Vanessa would still be alive. Ethan believed that more fiercely than anyone. He had always liked her. I had once liked him. That was how stupid I had been. They invited me to a makeup graduation beach day. Ethan apologized. People I had not spoken to in weeks sent me messages saying they wanted to put the tragedy behind us. I went because some part of me still thought 4 years of friendship meant something. At sunset, Ethan shoved me into the surf. When I tried to crawl back, 3 others pushed me deeper. By the time I understood they truly meant to kill me, I had already swallowed too much water. My last thought was not about Ethan. It was about my mother. She had lost my father when I was young. We still had debt. She had worked double shifts for years so I could finish school. I was supposed to start college in the fall. Instead, she was going to get a phone call telling her that her only daughter was dead. Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes again, my phone was vibrating against my palm. The class group chat was exploding. Vanessa had tagged everyone. Graduation trip is set. Echo Guide planned the whole thing. We leave next Monday. Drop a thumbs up if you're in. Under the message were screenshots. She had typed, "Plan a cheap graduation trip for around 40 students. We want hiking, something adventurous, somewhere not too touristy. Handle the itinerary and lodging." Echo Guide had produced a cheerful schedule, a mountain route, and a list of places to stay. Then Vanessa had asked, "Can you book the rooms for us?" The AI had replied, "Done. Your lodging has been reserved for next week. Just show this confirmation at check-in." My hand went cold. For several seconds, I could not breathe. The same chat. The same screenshots. The same date. I was back. Back to the day Vanessa announced the trip. Back before Black Pine Ridge. Back before the beach. Back before 40 people I had saved decided I deserved to die for saving them. The chat kept moving. I'm in. Finally. I need to get outside after senior year. Black Pine Ridge? That place looks incredible. Is Echo Guide actually reliable for this? Vanessa answered immediately. Of course it is. I looked up the mountain. Tons of hikers go there. It's just not one of those crowded tourist places. That's why none of us had heard of it. That was technically true. Experienced hikers went there. Experienced hikers also carried topographic maps, emergency beacons, insulated layers, first aid kits, extra water, and enough judgment to turn around when conditions changed. A group of newly graduated teenagers with sneakers, phone chargers, and no wilderness training was something else entirely. In my first life, I had spent hours gathering links to prove it. This time, I locked my phone and set it face down on the table. Let them go. I had already died once for being responsible. I was not doing it again. A private message arrived less than a minute later. Mia Turner. You going? Mia had been my closest friend since sophomore year. We had shared lunches, study notes, bathroom breaks, and every cheap snack we could afford between classes. In my first life, food poisoning had kept her home on departure day. A miserable case of gastroenteritis had saved her life. I typed back. Can't. I need to work this summer and save for tuition. She sent a sad face emoji. Yeah. I figured. I'd already said yes, but I'm not sure my stomach can handle a wilderness trip anyway. Vanessa wants everybody there. I stared at that message longer than I meant to. Then I replied. Listen to your stomach. She sent 3 laughing emojis. I wasn't joking. Our graduating group had 44 students. By that evening, 39 had agreed to go. I stayed silent. Vanessa did not. Chloe Reed, you were our senior class rep. You can't be the only one who skips the class trip. Several people piled on. Come on, Chloe. It's probably the last time we'll all be together. Don't be boring. I was about to type a simple no when my phone rang. Ethan. In my first life, his name on my screen had made my pulse jump. Now it made my stomach turn. I answered anyway. Chloe, what is your problem? He said without hello. Everybody's going. Why are you trying to make Vanessa look stupid? I almost laughed. We graduated, Ethan. I'm not responsible for making Vanessa look good. That's not what I said. It's what you meant. He exhaled sharply. Why do you always have to make everything difficult? This could be the last time the whole class hangs out. Great. Have fun. You're seriously not going? No. A pause. Then his voice softened in the way it used to when he wanted something from me. Come on. We were friends for 4 years. In another life, he had stood on a beach and watched me drown. We were classmates, I said. That's over now. He went quiet. I added, besides, if I stay home, you'll have more time with Vanessa. What's that supposed to mean? The panic in his voice was almost funny. Nothing. Enjoy the trip. I hung up and blocked his number. Then I returned to the group chat and wrote the only explanation they might actually accept without treating my refusal as a personal insult. You all know money is tight for me. I need to work this summer to cover tuition and help my mom with our debt. I can't afford a graduation trip, so please stop pressuring me. The reaction changed immediately. Yeah, leave Chloe alone. She worked all through senior year already. Not everybody has vacation money. Vanessa went silent. I left the conversation muted. The next morning, I found a summer job at a drink shop 6 blocks from our apartment. The pay was not amazing, but the manager offered steady hours, free meals during long shifts, and a small bonus for weekends. It was enough. For the first time since waking up, I felt like I was moving towards something instead of running from the past. That feeling lasted until I came home. There were two unfamiliar pairs of shoes outside our door. I opened it and froze. Vanessa was sitting at our kitchen table. Ethan was beside her. My mother, Ellen, was pouring them iced tea. "What are you doing here?" Mom frowned at me. "Chloe. They're your friends. You could at least say hello. They're not supposed to know where I live." Vanessa gave me her sweetest smile. "We filled out emergency contact forms for the senior trip planning committee months ago. I remembered your address from the spreadsheet." My skin crawled. "You came to my home because I didn't answer the group chat?" "We came because you think you can't afford the trip." She stood and reached for my hand. I stepped back. Her smile flickered. "I fixed that," she said. "No, you didn't." "Yes, I did." She lifted her phone. On the screen was another conversation with Echo Guide. She had asked it to reserve rooms for the entire group. It had responded with a neat little confirmation and a message telling her no payment was due until arrival. Vanessa beamed. "See? Lodging is covered." I stared at her. "By whom?" She blinked. "What do you mean? Who paid for all those rooms?" Echo Guide handled it. It's an AI chatbot. It made the reservation. "Did it give you a confirmation number from the hotel?" She scrolled. "No, but it said, 'Did you get an email from the hotel?'" "No." "Did you call the hotel?" Her mouth tightened. "Why would I call when the reservation is right there?" My mother looked between us. "What exactly is Echo Guide?" Vanessa answered before I could. "It's an AI assistant. You tell it what you want, and it does it." Mom's eyebrows rose. "So it's like a travel agent?" "Sort of, except smarter." I closed my eyes for 1 second. My mother still used an old prepaid phone and wrote grocery lists on paper. Explaining the difference between a language model and a booking platform in front of two people determined not to understand was not a fight I wanted. Ethan leaned back in his chair. "There. No hotel cost. Vanessa solved your money problem. So what's your excuse now?" I looked at him. He had the same expression he wore in my first life right before he told me Vanessa's death was my fault. That decided it. I smiled. "Okay." All three of them looked surprised. Vanessa recovered first. "Really?" "Sure. If everything is free, I'll go." Her whole face brightened. "I knew you would." Ethan rolled his eyes. "You could have said yes the first time instead of making us come all the way over here." I ignored him. The goal was no longer convincing them I would not go. The goal was getting them out of my apartment. Mom tried to press a folded stack of bills into my hand after they left. "For food," she said. I pushed it back. "We need that money for rent." "You're going on a graduation trip. Take it." "Vanessa says everything is covered." Mom hesitated. I hated lying to her. But if I told her the truth, she would worry. Worse, she might call another parent, and history could repeat itself. So I hugged her instead. I'll be fine. She patted my back. You better be. On Monday morning, I left early in my work uniform. My plan was simple. Mom had already gone to her shift. I would clock in at the drink shop. If Vanessa came by, the apartment would be empty. By the time anyone realized I had skipped the trip, they would be too far away to drag me along. I stepped outside. A horn blared. Chloe! My entire body locked. Vanessa leaned out the passenger window of an SUV parked at the curb. 3 classmates were crammed into the back. Ethan sat behind the wheel. We came to get you, Vanessa called. Of course they had. Of course. Ethan lowered his window. Get in. We're already late. I have work. You told us you were coming. I changed my mind. Vanessa's smile vanished. We went out of our way to pick you up. One of the girls in the back groaned. Chloe, please. We still have to meet everyone at the lodge. 5 faces stared at me. I could have caused a scene. I could have called my manager, called my mother, called the police if they tried to force me. Instead, I looked at Ethan. Then Vanessa. A new idea formed. If I left at the right moment, in front of enough witnesses, nobody would ever be able to claim I had sabotaged the trip. I opened the door. Fine. Black Pine Ridge was less than 90 minutes from Grey Haven. The lodge sat in a valley town at the base of the mountain. When we arrived, most of the group was already gathered outside with backpacks, duffel bags, selfie sticks, and enough portable chargers to power a small electronics store. Almost nobody had actual hiking equipment. Vanessa led us inside. The desk clerk smiled as 39 loud 18-year-olds filled the lobby. Good morning. Are you checking in as a group? Yes, Vanessa said proudly. We have a reservation. Name? Vanessa Lane. The clerk typed. Paused. Typed again. Could it be under a different name? No. Echo Guide booked it for us. The clerk stopped moving. I'm sorry? Vanessa held up her phone. Echo Guide. The AI app. The clerk's professional smile became very still. You booked through a third-party service? No. Through Echo Guide. I watched understanding arrive on the clerk's face. Oh. That one syllable nearly made me laugh. He searched again anyway. I don't have a reservation under Lane. I also don't have a group booking for your school. That's impossible. Vanessa pushed the phone toward him. It says confirmed. He glanced at the screenshot. Ma'am, that appears to be text generated by an AI assistant. This property doesn't accept reservations through that service. But it says you have the rooms. I'm sorry, but it can't create inventory in our reservation system. People behind us started whispering. A business traveler muttered they tried to check in with a chatbot screenshot. Another guest sighed. Can somebody move them away from the desk? I have a flight in 2 hours. Vanessa's cheeks went scarlet. You must have lost the reservation. We didn't. Check again. I've checked 3 times. She opened Echo Guide. The group crowded closer. Vanessa typed, the hotel says there is no reservation. Did you actually book it? The loading symbol spun. Then the answer appeared. I'm sorry for the confusion. I can help draft travel plans and suggest booking steps, but I cannot independently complete hotel reservations unless connected to an authorized booking service. My earlier response incorrectly implied the reservation had been completed. Silence. A girl near the back whispered, "You've got to be kidding me." Someone else said, "So we drove all the way here for nothing?" "I thought you said it was free." Vanessa's eyes filled. "I didn't know." That line pulled something loose inside me. In my first life, I had spent hours warning them. They had called me controlling, dramatic, jealous. Now the first obvious consequence had arrived, and Vanessa wanted to be treated like the victim. I stepped forward and slapped her. The sound cracked across the lobby. Gasps rose around us. Her hand flew to her cheek. "You told me I wouldn't have to spend anything," I said. "You came to my house and pressured me into this. I missed a work shift because you swore everything was handled." Ethan shoved me hard. My hip hit the edge of a lobby chair. "What is wrong with you?" I caught myself before I fell. A hotel employee moved toward us. "Sir, you need to step back." Ethan ignored him. "Apologize to Vanessa." "No. She made a mistake. She dragged 38 people into it." Vanessa started crying. "I just wanted us to have one last trip together." A few people softened immediately. Of course they did. Ethan turned to the group. "I'll pay for the rooms tonight. We came all this way. We're not canceling." Several people cheered. I almost admired how predictable he was. Ethan's family had money. Not unlimited money, but enough that he could absorb a painful hotel bill if it meant impressing Vanessa. I walked over and looped my arm through his. "Wow. That's generous." "Thanks, Ethan." He recoiled like I had touched him with something sticky. "Not you." I widened my eyes. "What?" "You hit Vanessa. She lied to me." "Apologize." "No." "Then you're not staying on my dime." There it was. I let the room hear me say, "So you're kicking me out of the graduation trip?" "Yes." "After you came to my house, pressured me to come, and physically shoved me when I got upset?" His jaw tightened. "Stop twisting everything. Just leave." I took one slow breath. "Fine." Then I drove my knee into his thigh hard enough to make him stumble. "Consider that for the shove." He cursed. I grabbed my bag. "Enjoy the mountain." Two classmates started toward me. I lifted a hand. "No." He said I'm not part of the trip. Everybody heard him. Ethan's face darkened. "Good. Go." Exactly what I wanted. I left before anyone could change their mind. I caught a regional bus back to Grey Haven, called my manager from the station, and apologized for being late. She told me to come in for the afternoon shift. By 2 o'clock, I was back behind the counter shaking iced drinks until my wrist ached. I had never been happier to work. During my break, I checked social media. The class had stayed. Ethan paid. Vanessa posted a mirror selfie from the lodge. She wore a waterproof shell over a fitted tank top and hiking shorts. Shorts. At Black Pine Ridge. Her caption read, "Echo Guide says it'll be 82 degrees all day. Summit day." Someone commented, "It gets cold at elevation. You might want pants." Vanessa replied with a screenshot. Echo Guide had confidently predicted warm temperatures all the way to the top. I searched the official regional weather station. The summit forecast showed a high in the low 60s, falling rapidly after sunset, with damp wind and a chance of mountain showers. I stared at the screen. Then I locked my phone. Not my problem. By mid-morning the next day, they were on the trail. At first, the posts looked almost normal. Group pictures. Jokes. Videos of people complaining about uphill walking. Then the trail forked. Vanessa asked Echo Guide which way led to the summit fastest. The assistant told her to take the left branch. A veteran hiker standing near the sign apparently warned them the left spur was not part of the maintained summit route. Ethan posted a video laughing about it. Old guy says we should go right. Vanessa's AI says left. Guess we're about to find out whether technology beats Grandpa. I watched it twice. In the background, the official sign clearly pointed right. They went left. I put my phone down and returned to work. By the time I finished my shift, Vanessa's posts had stopped. One of the boys had uploaded a shaky video an hour earlier. The trail was barely a trail anymore. Trees crowded both sides. The ground was slick. Someone behind the camera complained, "This is getting stupid. We should go back." Vanessa's voice answered, "Echo Guide says we're 20 minutes from the summit." Another voice said, "It said that 40 minutes ago." Then the video ended. I should have felt satisfied. Instead, my stomach tightened. Not because I wanted to save them. Because I remembered dying. People who were scared did unpredictable things. In my first life, they had turned terror into blame. I checked the class chat. No new messages. 10 minutes later, a story went live from another student's account. It showed Ethan bouncing on a strangely soft patch of ground between two fallen logs. "What is this?" He laughed. "It's like a trampoline." 3 others jumped onto it. The camera shook with laughter. I leaned closer. The surface was a mat of leaf litter over a hollowed area beneath the roots. And I saw movement. A coil. Then another. My breath stopped. "Get off," I whispered at the screen. The video continued. Someone shouted. A rattlesnake rose from the leaves. The camera jerked sideways. Ethan screamed. The story cut out. For several seconds, I stood completely still behind the staff counter. My manager noticed. "You okay?" "Yeah." I wasn't. But not for the reason she thought. I opened the group chat. Messages arrived in bursts. "Snake. Ethan got bit. Call emergency. NO signal. Where is everyone? I'm lost. Help." Then nothing. Somewhere on Black Pine Ridge, the exact disaster I had warned them about in my first life had begun. This time, I was nowhere near it. And I had receipts proving why. The first emergency call came from 2 students who managed to find their way back to the maintained trail. They were lucky. According to what I learned later from the group chat, the moment people realized Ethan had been bitten, panic tore through the group faster than the snake ever could. Nobody had a proper first aid kit. Nobody knew what kind of snake it was. Someone shouted that they had to cut the bite open. Someone else said Ethan needed to run downhill before the venom spread. A third person screamed that running would make it worse. Then somebody spotted another snake in the leaves. That ended the discussion. People scattered. Vanessa ran too. Ethan had given her his fleece earlier because she was shivering in her shorts. By then his ankle was swelling, his breathing was getting shallow, and he could barely stand. He grabbed the sleeve of the fleece as she passed him. "Vanessa! Don't leave me!" She screamed and yanked the zipper open. The fleece slid off her shoulders. He was left holding it. She kept running. That part was not something I witnessed in person. I found out because one of the students had been recording when the snake appeared. In the chaos, he forgot to stop the video. His phone kept filming from the ground for several minutes. At the time, though, all I knew was that Ethan had been bitten and the group had broken apart. My phone started ringing while I was wiping down the blender station. Mr. Hayes. Our former senior advisor. I almost let it go to voicemail. Then I remembered that 39 people had driven into the mountains together and only I had come home. If I refused to answer, somebody would decide that was suspicious. I picked up. "Chloe?" "Yes." "Where are you?" "At work." A pause. "At work in Greyhaven?" "Yes." "You didn't go hiking?" "I left yesterday." "Why?" I looked through the shop window at traffic moving under a clear summer sky. The hotel reservation didn't exist. Vanessa used an AI chatbot and thought it had booked everything. Ethan paid for the rooms, but he told me I wasn't welcome after we argued. So I came home. Mr. Hayes was silent for 2 full seconds. Then he said, very carefully, "They used a chatbot to plan the trip?" "Yes." "For the route too?" "Yes." He swore under his breath. That was when I realized this was no longer only a class problem. It was already becoming an adult problem. Within an hour, I was asked to come to Westbridge High. The school was technically closed for summer, but administrators had opened a conference room for families while county search and rescue teams coordinated from the mountain. Mia was the only other person from our class who had not gone. Just like in my first life, she had ended up in urgent care with severe stomach trouble the night before departure. When I texted her, she answered from a hospital bed. I am never making fun of food poisoning again. I almost smiled. At the school, parents were everywhere. Some were crying. Some were yelling. Some were calling their children over and over even though the calls went straight to voicemail. Ethan's mother, Karen Cole, grabbed my arm the second she saw me. "Where is my son?" "I don't know." "You came back." "Why did you come back?" "Because I was kicked out of the trip before the hike." Her grip tightened. "What happened?" Mr. Hayes stepped between us. "Mrs. Cole, give her some room." I unlocked my phone. This is the group chat. This is the hotel conversation. This is where Vanessa told everyone Echo Guide had already booked the rooms. This is where it admitted it hadn't. Parents crowded around. I scrolled. This is Ethan telling me to leave. The message wasn't in writing, but several students had posted jokes afterward about me getting exiled, and one had uploaded a short lobby clip that caught Ethan saying, "There's no place for you on this trip." I had saved it the moment I saw it. I had learned something from dying once. Evidence mattered. One father stared at the screenshots. "You're telling me they trusted a chatbot with hotel reservations?" A mother near him looked sick. "It planned the trail too?" "Yes." Mr. Hayes rubbed both hands over his face. "That mountain has marked routes." "I know." "Did anyone check the route?" "I did." Every face turned toward me. I kept my voice even. Before the trip, I looked at the mountain because I was trying to decide whether I could afford to go. The route Echo Guide suggested crossed an advanced backcountry section. I didn't go. Karen's eyes sharpened. You knew it was dangerous? My pulse kicked once. There it was. The beginning of the sentence that had killed me in my first life. I met her gaze. I knew enough to decide I didn't want to hike it. I did not organize this trip. I did not choose the route. I did not drive anyone there. I did not have authority over any of them. They are all legal adults or were traveling with parental permission. Mr. Hayes nodded immediately. She's right. Karen opened her mouth. Then her phone rang. Everyone went silent. It was not Ethan. It was a rescue coordinator. 2 more students had been found. Then 4. Then 7. By sunset, search teams had located more than half the group. Some had made it back to the main trail. Some were found in clusters, wet, frightened, and scratched from pushing through brush. 2 had gone down a steep embankment and suffered multiple fractures. Vanessa was found near dusk. A rescue deputy discovered her lying under a cedar thicket, barely responsive. She was soaked from the knees down. Her legs were red from exposure. Her lips were blue. When they wrapped her in a thermal blanket, she kept asking whether she was going to die. According to the rescue report later shared with families, the deputy repeatedly asked if she knew where Ethan was. Vanessa pointed east. Ethan was west. At first, nobody knew whether she was confused from cold exposure or whether she had done it deliberately. The search teams lost almost 3 hours. Night settled over Black Pine Ridge. Helicopter crews used infrared equipment where the canopy allowed it. Ground teams brought in dogs. Parents waited at the school. Every time the door opened, heads snapped up. I sat in a corner with a paper cup of stale coffee and watched the clock move past midnight. Karen paced until her shoes made a dull path across the carpet. Why can't they find him? No one answered. At 1:30 in the morning, one of the search dogs alerted near a root hollow off the unofficial spur trail. Ethan was still alive. Barely. By the time rescuers reached him, he had been alone for hours. The bite site was badly swollen. He had developed systemic envenomation. His temperature had dropped because he was lying on damp ground without his jacket. He had vomited, aspirated, and lost consciousness. A medical helicopter took him directly to Northvale Medical Center. Karen left before the coordinator finished speaking. I went home. I slept for 14 hours. When I woke up, the story was everywhere. Not because our town was famous. Because it was ridiculous. Nearly 40 recent high school graduates had followed an AI-generated hiking route into dangerous terrain. Their supposed hotel reservations had never existed. Their route advice had contradicted posted trail signs. One student had been bitten by a venomous snake. 2 had fallen into a ravine. Rescuers had spent the entire night pulling people out of the mountains. The screenshots spread online. So did the jokes. People asked how a group old enough to vote could believe a text generator had secretly paid for their hotel. Others were less amused. Experienced hikers posted long explanations about why backcountry navigation should never depend on a conversational AI response. Emergency workers warned people to verify trail conditions through official sources. The Regional Wilderness Authority released a statement reminding visitors that Black Pine Ridge's unmaintained northern spurs were not recommended for inexperienced hikers. I did not comment. I went to work. Mia came home from urgent care 2 days later and showed up at the drink shop just before closing. She looked pale. I owe bad chick in my life. You absolutely do. She sat at the counter while I cleaned the tea urns. Have you heard about Ethan? No update since this morning. She lowered her voice. He's still in intensive care. I stopped wiping. Is he awake? No. He remained unconscious for a week. Then too. The doctor stabilized him, but the prolonged oxygen loss after he aspirated, combined with the severity of the envenomation and delay in treatment, had caused significant brain injury. Eventually, his family was told he had entered a persistent disorder of consciousness. He might improve. He might not. No one could promise he would ever speak, walk, or live independently again. The timing made it crueler. Before graduation, Ethan had already accepted admission to his first-choice university and received a partial academic scholarship. His mother had posted the acceptance photo everywhere. Now the letter sat framed in a house he might never leave on his own. When Mia told me, I remembered my first life. Cold seawater. Ethan's hand between my shoulder blades. His voice. I wish it had been me instead of Vanessa. This time, in a way, he got his wish. Vanessa recovered from the cold within days. Physically, she was the least injured person at the center of the disaster. Socially, everything collapsed. At first she blamed Echo Guide. Then she blamed the hotel. Then she said the trail signs had been confusing. Then she said everybody had agreed to follow her, so she should not be singled out. That last argument destroyed whatever sympathy remained. The group chat turned savage. You were the one who planned it. You told us not to listen to the hiker at the fork. You kept saying the AI couldn't be wrong. You said the hotel was booked. You said it would be warm. People who had defended her a week earlier now acted as if they had always known better. It would have been funny if the consequences had not been so serious. Then the video surfaced. The student whose phone had kept recording after the snake incident reviewed his footage at home. It showed Ethan on the ground. It showed him grabbing the fleece. It showed Vanessa stripping it off rather than stopping. Most important, the audio captured Ethan begging her not to leave. The student did not send the video to the news. He sent it to Ethan's parents. I did not know that until much later. What happened next made the local news anyway. Vanessa was discharged from the hospital. Her mother arrived to take her home. They had barely made it across the hospital entrance drive when a car accelerated toward them. People screamed. Vanessa turned. The car hit her. She was thrown several yards and landed hard on the pavement. The driver stopped. Karen Cole got out. She did not run. She did not pretend it was an accident. She called emergency services herself, placed the keys on the hood, and waited for police. The video of the incident came from hospital security cameras. Karen was arrested and later charged with serious felonies, including aggravated assault with a vehicle. Vanessa survived. Her spinal injuries did not fully heal. By the time I heard the final prognosis, doctors expected that she would have permanent mobility impairment and likely use a wheelchair long-term. Her college plans disappeared. Karen's freedom disappeared. Ethan remained in long-term neurological care. The class that had once believed we were going to have one perfect final adventure scattered into lawsuits, police interviews, rehabilitation appointments, family arguments, and blame. I watched all of it from behind the counter of a drink shop. Then, one afternoon, I put my phone face down and realized something. I was tired of watching. In my first life, those people had taken my future from me. If I spent my second life staring at their suffering, they would still own it. So I stopped. At the end of the summer, I used part of my wages to take my mother on a short trip to a neighboring coastal city. Nothing fancy. 2 nights in a small inn. Bus tickets. Cheap seafood. A boardwalk. The beach where I had died in my first life was outside Grey Haven, on the way back. I asked Mom if we could stop. She looked confused. You hate swimming. I just want to see the water. We walked onto the sand. The day was bright. Families were flying kites. Children ran from the waves. A couple took engagement pictures near the rocks. Nothing about the place looked like death. I stood where I remembered going under. The ocean moved in and out as if nothing had ever happened. Mom touched my arm. You okay? I breathed in. Salt. Wind. Sun-warmed wood from the boardwalk behind us. I'm good. And for the first time since waking up again, I meant it. The cloud that had followed me from my first life finally began to break. I had not escaped fate because somebody rescued me. I escaped because I stopped walking toward people who had already shown me they would let me drown. When college move-in day arrived, Mom was more nervous than I was. I woke before sunrise and found her in the living room surrounded by my bags. Toothbrush, she muttered. Packed. Towels. Packed. Medication. Packed. Admission documents. She looked up. Chloe, where is the folder? I leaned against the doorway. Mom. You checked that bag 8 times last night. I did not. You absolutely did. She opened it anyway. One more time won't hurt. I laughed. Then my throat tightened. In my first life, I never made it to this morning. My college orientation packet had arrived after my funeral. My mother would have opened it alone. I had spent months refusing to imagine what that had done to her. Now I did not have to imagine. I crossed the room and hugged her from behind. She jumped. What are you doing? Nothing. You're crushing me. I just like having you here. Her hands stopped moving. For several seconds she said nothing. Then she flicked my forehead. You're going to college, not kindergarten. Her voice was steady. Her eyes were not. Neither of us mentioned it. We stayed like that until she pushed me away and told me to wash my face. At Halston University, everything felt unreal. Move in. Orientation. Student ID cards. Dorm keys. Classes. New roommates. New professors. People who did not know Vanessa. People who did not know Ethan. People who did not call me the responsible one. People who had no memory of asking me to fix every group project, settle every argument, plan every event, or apologize for things I had not done. The first time my residence hall organized a dinner, I declined because I had a work shift. The floor representative texted, "You can't make it?" I wrote, "Working tonight. Next time." She answered, "No problem. Have a good shift." That was it. No guilt. No phone calls. No one showed up at my room. No one told me I was ruining the group. I stared at the exchange for so long that my roommate, Paige, leaned over my shoulder. "What are you looking at?" "Nothing." "You've been looking at nothing for 5 minutes." I locked the screen. I just realized normal people are incredible. She stared at me. What? Compliment. You're weird. She threw a pillow at me. I laughed harder than the joke deserved. For most of my life, I had mistaken pressure for friendship. I thought being a good person meant being available, helpful, easy, responsible for everybody's feelings. College taught me something much simpler. No was a complete answer. Not having money was not a moral failure. Missing one dinner did not mean you hated your friends. Refusing a trip did not make you disloyal. And people who respected you did not need to be forced to respect your boundaries. It took me 2 lives to learn that. I kept working. My grades were good enough to earn aid, but tuition and living expenses still mattered. I took a campus job during the week and retail shifts on weekends. The work was exhausting. But it was different from the exhaustion of my first life. That life had felt like running on a treadmill someone else controlled. This one had direction. Every hour I worked bought me something real. A textbook. A month of rent. A payment on the debt my mother and I still carried from the years after Dad died. A little more freedom. During winter break, I bought Mom a coat. It was not designer. It came from a clearance rack. I still had to stand in the store for 20 minutes before convincing myself to pay for it. When she opened the box, she frowned. You spent too much. I didn't. This is a good coat. It was on sale. That doesn't mean it was free. Put it on. She complained the entire time. Then she stood in front of the hallway mirror for 5 minutes. The next morning she wore it to the grocery store. When she came back, she tried to sound casual. Mrs. Bennett downstairs said the color looks good on me. I kept my face straight. What did you tell her? Mom lifted her chin. I said my daughter bought it. The pride in her voice nearly broke me. I looked down at the vegetables I was chopping so she would not see my eyes fill. This was what I wanted. Not revenge. Not headlines. Not watching Vanessa's life collapse. This. A warm coat. My mother bragging about me to a neighbor. A future ordinary enough to be boring. The old class group did not survive the mountain. People blocked one another. Families threatened legal action. Some blamed Vanessa. Some blamed Ethan. Some blamed the students who panicked and ran. Some blamed the school even though the trip had not been school-sponsored. A few people tried to portray themselves as innocent victims of everyone else. Eventually, the chat became so ugly that I left it. When I changed phones, I did not restore it. Mia was the only person from that part of my life I kept close. During my second year, she called me while I was waiting for coffee outside the library. Guess who I saw? Your future husband? Wrong. Vanessa. My hand tightened around my wallet. I was surprised by how little I felt. How is she? In a wheelchair. Mia lowered her voice. Her mom was pushing her into a rehab clinic. I almost walked past them because she looked so different. Different how? Thinner. Hair cut short. She barely looked at anyone. I waited. Mia continued. She saw me. And? She asked about you. That got my attention. What did she ask? If you were doing okay. I gave a soft laugh. What did you tell her? I told her you were thriving. Great grades, scholarship money, amazing friends, and at least 6 attractive people fighting for your attention. I started laughing in the coffee line. 6? I wanted to make it hurt. There are 0. Temporary problem. What did Vanessa say? Mia went quiet. She cried. My smile faded. Students crossed the quad in front of me. Someone skateboarded past. 2 girls were arguing about a chemistry assignment. A boy sat on the grass playing guitar badly. Life continued. Mia asked, "Do you still hate her?" I thought about the beach. I thought about the mountain. I thought about Vanessa crying at a hospital because she had lost the use of her legs. In the beginning, yes. How could you not? I hated all of them. That was the truth. I hated Vanessa for going alone and dying. I hated Ethan for turning her death into my crime. I hated every person who had watched me struggle in the ocean. But hate was still a rope. If I spent every morning wondering whether Vanessa was suffering enough, she was still at the center of my life. I don't hate her much anymore, I said. Mia sounded surprised. You forgive her? No. The answer came instantly. I will never believe what they did to me was okay. She did not know what I meant by that. Not fully. She thought I meant the pressure before the trip. The arguments. The blame afterward. She did not know about my first death. I continued. She just doesn't belong to me anymore. What does that mean? It means I don't want to spend my life looking backward. Mia was quiet. Then she said, "That sounds healthier than what I was going to say." What were you going to say? That I hope she gets a flat tire on her wheelchair. I snorted into my coffee. Some things did not need to be profound. Sometimes having a friend who could make you laugh was enough. By my 3rd year, Mom took her first flight. I had received a small project award from the university and used part of it to buy 2 tickets to Belmere, a river city a few hours away by air. Mom almost canceled the trip when she saw the receipt. You could have saved this. I did save some. For a house. I am a student. Students eventually need houses. Mom. What? Money is allowed to do things besides sit in an account. She glared at me. That is exactly what people with no money say. I laughed until she threatened to cancel the ticket herself. She did not. At the airport, she gripped her boarding pass as if somebody might take it away. On the plane, she insisted she did not care about the window seat. Then she spent the entire flight with her forehead nearly pressed to the glass. When we landed, she photographed everything. The river. The bridge. A strange-looking tree outside the transit station. A bakery sign. A streetcar. The hotel lamp. I had finally replaced her old phone by then. She could send messages and photos, though she still preferred voice notes because typing took her forever. That evening, she sat on the edge of the hotel bed sorting through pictures. Chloe. I think I've had a good life. My hands stopped over my suitcase. What brought that on? She looked at the phone in her lap. After your dad died, I thought we were never going to get out from under everything. The bills. The debt. Work. I woke up every day worried about money. I sat beside her. My biggest goal was to get you through school, she said. That was it. If I could get you to college, I thought I'd done enough. Her eyes filled. Now you're here. You're doing well. You flew me somewhere just because you wanted me to see it. She laughed and wiped her cheek. Maybe all those hard years were worth something. I took her hand. This is nothing. She gave me a look. Nothing? When I graduate, I'm taking you somewhere with snow. I've seen snow. Not real snow. What is fake snow? You know what I mean. She laughed. I kept going. Mountains. Plains. The coast. Anywhere you want. The word coast sent a small tremor through me. It passed. The ocean no longer belonged to Ethan. It no longer belonged to the people who had stood on the beach and watched me die. I had already returned once with Mom beside me. The water had been water. The sky had been sky. The fear had not owned me. By senior year, I hardly thought about Black Pine Ridge at all. Then the subject came back in the most ordinary way possible. I was at Mom's apartment over winter break, helping her compare utility plans, when she asked me to look at an online message. Is this real? It was an advertisement that promised an impossible discount if she paid immediately through an unfamiliar link. No. How do you know? The sender address is wrong. The website name is misspelled. And nobody legitimate needs you to pay in the next 10 minutes. She nodded seriously. Good. I thought so. I looked at her. Since when do you check website addresses? She looked offended. I learned. From where? Online safety classes at the community center. I stared. She crossed her arms. Young people aren't the only ones allowed to learn things. I didn't say that. And I learned about those AI systems too. I bit back a smile. Did you? Yes. They can make things up and sound very confident. Correct. You never use one for anything important without checking. Correct. Medical information, legal information, travel, directions, money. You verify it somewhere official. I nodded solemnly. Mrs. Reed, I'm impressed. Don't mock me. I'm not. She pointed at me. And if you ever plan a vacation with one of those things, you call the hotel yourself. That broke me. I laughed so hard I had to sit down. Mom. It has been 4 years. I remember. Clearly. How could I forget? Your graduating class was in the news for weeks. That part was true. The Black Pine incident became a cautionary case. Westbridge High added a digital information unit for seniors the following year. Teachers used examples involving navigation, emergency advice, medicine, legal questions, financial scams, and travel planning. The lesson was not that AI tools were useless. It was that confident text was not proof. A generated answer still needed verification. The mountain incident was discussed in regional safety workshops and school parent meetings. I never watched the documentaries or commentary videos people made about it. That was not my story anymore. My story was a degree. A job application. Mom's coat hanging by the door. Rent paid on time. Debt shrinking month by month. At graduation, Mom wore a bright scarf I had bought her. I could spot her from the stage. The moment my name was called, she stood up so fast the woman beside her flinched. "That's my daughter." I heard her from halfway across the auditorium. I wanted to disappear. I also wanted to cry. After the ceremony, she pushed through the crowd and wrapped both arms around me. "You did it." "We did." "No." She pulled back and gripped my shoulders. "You did." Mia appeared behind her with her phone raised. "Do not cry yet. I need one picture where both of you look normal." Mom wiped her face immediately. "Right. Today is happy." Mia had graduated from a different university that spring. We were moving to different cities for work, but that did not worry me. Good relationships did not need constant proof. We had learned how to give each other room. 3 months after graduation, I received a text from an unknown number. "Did you know Black Pine Ridge was dangerous before we went?" I sat at my desk and read it twice. There was no name. There did not need to be. Vanessa. Maybe she had spent years replaying the hotel lobby. The argument. The moment I left. Maybe she wondered why I had been so eager to separate myself from the trip. Maybe she remembered that I had looked at the route before saying no. Maybe she had built some impossible theory around me. It did not matter. I deleted the message. Then I blocked the number. Rebirth was not something anyone would believe. And even if Vanessa somehow did, what would it change? Would she regret her choices more if she knew that in another life her death had become the excuse for mine? Would she apologize? Would she blame me again for not stopping her? I did not care enough to find out. If I somehow got a third life, I knew exactly what I would do. The same thing. I would not go. I would not save people who had already punished me for saving them. Growing older changed the way I understood kindness. Kindness did not mean volunteering to become collateral damage. It did not mean accepting every burden other people placed in your hands. You could warn someone. You could tell the truth. You could offer help. But if they spat on your warning, mocked your judgment, and demanded that you follow them anyway, you were allowed to step back. Their road was theirs. So were the consequences. I would never again pay for another person's recklessness with my life. My first full-time job was with Ardenvale Solutions, a mid-sized data services firm in Grey Haven. The salary looked enormous to Mom. To me, after taxes and rent and debt payments, it looked like a ladder. I climbed. I did not become rich overnight. There was no secret inheritance. No powerful stranger appeared and changed my life. I worked. I learned. I asked for raises when I had earned them. I changed teams when one stopped giving me room to grow. I took certifications. I kept an emergency fund. I paid down debt. 2 years after graduation, I logged into the account that had followed Mom and me since Dad's death. The balance showed 0. I stared at the screen for almost a full minute. Then I called her. "Mom." "What happened?" "The debt is gone." Silence. "What?" "I paid the last balance." Another pause. "We don't owe anyone anymore." I heard her inhale. Then nothing. "Mom?" "I'm here." Her voice was small. "Really?" "Really." She started crying. Not loudly. That somehow made it worse. I leaned back in my chair and covered my eyes. My own tears slipped through my fingers. Neither of us spoke for a while. We had waited years for that moment. In my first life, we never reached it. In this one, we did. The next month, I asked her to move to Grey Haven. She refused 3 times. What would I do there? Live. I can live here. Closer to me. I'll bother you. You won't. I can't help with your work. Who asked you to? Then why am I moving? To enjoy yourself. She laughed at me. You've had a salary for 2 years and now you're talking like a millionaire. I'm not buying you a mansion. Good, because I'd make you return it. Eventually, she agreed. I rented a larger apartment with 2 bedrooms and a south-facing balcony. The rent was painful. I told her it was reasonable. Some lies were kinder than others. The first morning after she moved in, sunlight filled the kitchen. Mom stood on the balcony with a mug in both hands. This place is so bright. You like it? How much is the rent? Not much. She narrowed her eyes. I smiled. She knew. I knew she knew. Neither of us continued. On weekends, we went grocery shopping together. She compared tomato prices between 3 stores. She complained that berries were cheaper last week. She saved coupons. She scolded me for buying pre-cut fruit. I followed behind with the cart. Sometimes I watched her argue over 50 cents and felt a ridiculous amount of happiness. This life was so ordinary. Errands. Laundry. Work emails. Leftovers. Rainy weekends. Mom asking whether I needed anything from the store. There was nothing cinematic about it. That was why I loved it. I did not need a dramatic life. I did not need sudden wealth. I did not need revenge forever. I wanted to wake up and know my mother was still here. I wanted to know tomorrow belonged to me. That was enough. On my 25th birthday, I went back to the beach alone. The same stretch of coast where I had died. Years had softened the details, but I still remembered everything when I closed my eyes. Ethan telling me Vanessa would be alive if I had stayed out of it. Hands on my shoulders. Cold water. My lungs burning. The line of people on the sand. For a long time after rebirth, those memories came in dreams. I would wake gasping and clutching my throat. By 25, the dreams were rare. Even when they came, they no longer controlled the day that followed. I knew what happened after I woke. Coffee. Work. Messages from Mom. A future. I took off my shoes and walked into the shallows. A wave washed over my feet. Then another. Behind me, a child squealed as he chased foam along the sand. A couple took pictures near the pier. Someone sat cross-legged reading. 2 teenagers hunted for shells. The ocean had never done anything wrong. The people who used it as a weapon had. So had the version of me who believed everyone else's safety, comfort, and opinion mattered more than my own. I did not hate that girl. She had been trying so hard to be good. I wished she had known that goodness without boundaries could become self-destruction. My phone buzzed. A voice message from Mom. You coming home for dinner? I made ribs. I held the record button. Yes. Save me some. Her reply came immediately. They're for you. Who else would I save them for? I laughed. The sun lowered toward the horizon. Gold spread across the water. Years earlier, on this same beach, I had promised myself that if I ever got another chance, I would take control of my fate. At 25, I understood that differently. Control did not mean eliminating every storm. It meant knowing what to do when one came. Verify what you were told. Trust your own judgment. Walk away from unreasonable demands. Let people be angry. Protect your money. Protect your time. Protect your body. Protect your future. Work for the life you want. Love the people who deserve it. And when someone insists on walking toward danger after rejecting every warning, do not let them chain you to their choice. The wind lifted my hair. I turned away from the water and walked back toward the road. My footprints stretched behind me. A wave erased the first few. Then the next. I did not look back. This time, there was a road in front of me. No classmate had planned it. No AI had generated it. No one else got to decide where it led. My life was mine. And from now on, I would choose the way forward myself.